So what do you think the biggest opportunities are in 2025? They're mentioning taking over businesses. I've been seeing this a lot on Twitter.
Yeah. Well, here's what I know. I like to look at the data and I like to try to look forward in the future. If you want to make money today with a high degree of certainty, you want to go where other people have made money with a high degree of certainty in a big luck surface area. So let's think about it like this. If you go right now and you want to make money as an artist making music, what do we know for sure? Well, we know that less than 1% of artists can survive on the money that they make, both touring and Spotify. So if you become an artist, you better hit the top 1%. Otherwise, you're not making much money. We know, however, that if you dedicate your life to, let's say, finance, well, pretty much everybody that's in finance is sustaining their entire livelihood off of finance. So you probably have like a 90% success rate to make the type of money you need if you're in the finance industry. So what does that tell me? I go, okay, well, I'm not the smartest person out there. So I basically want to be where the game is easiest to play. For me, that's focusing on small businesses. I think there's a big wave happening here. If you look at Japan, basically Japan is like 10 to 15 years ahead of us. Japan's Economic Industry Association has basically said that we have to grant to our populace the ability for them to buy small businesses using government funds, because if we don't, so many small businesses are closing for $0. We will lose 1 out of every 10 jobs in Japan. So the Japanese government right now is giving away money for people to buy small profitable businesses, which is wild to think about. I think in the US, we're not that far away from that. And I don't think we realize that, 65% of all jobs are held by small businesses, that most small businesses that exist have to be profitable because they have no venture backing. They're not able to get loans. And so for me, I think you're crazy. If you want to make money, don't confuse it with passion up front. Make the money first, and then you can add your passion on top of it. Buy the podcast production studio. Don't start with a YouTube channel and a podcast. It's hard to make money that way. And then after you have money from the podcast production, doing the boring things for other people, layer on the sexy things. So the best opportunity for me in 2025 is look at where all the opportunity is for you to leverage somebody else's 10,000 hours and you get to steal it. I mean, think about this for a second. I was talking to a dude the other day. His name's Adam. He's going to buy a small business from his former boss. So he worked at this company. The company's been around 20 years. It's a construction company. He's going to use the future profits of the business to buy the business. And the business took this guy 20 years to build up. It's a few $1 million in revenue. And he gets to steal his 20 years by buying the business through future profits. And so I'm screaming about this slightly because I think if we don't do this, then these small businesses close, private equity market share grows, and we're surrounded by Starbucks. And you guys know how I feel about that.
So why can't they just sell the business to, put it on the market and get a really high multiple? Why would they sell it to an individual at that point?
It's supply and demand. We don't have that many people who know how to buy businesses, and thus they don't have a lot of buyers. So one, buyers and sellers both don't know how to buy businesses. I mean, think about it for you guys. Before some of us started talking about this on the internet, I was in finance, you were in finance, I didn't know that I just personally could go buy a business. That just sounds kind of elitist and I need to have millions of dollars to do it. And it also makes me think, why would somebody sell me a small business that's profitable today? Why wouldn't they run it forever? And the first thing I always tell people, and you guys are a perfect example, you guys own a few businesses. Is there any point in time where if I said to you, hey, can I buy your business at the right price and the right terms? Would you guys say no? You'd be like, of course, there's a price and there are terms to buy my business. Every single small business owner has the right price and the right terms and what I call the wrong Tuesday. You get a business owner on the line on a day that they don't want to run their business anymore, you've got a business. And so that's why. The second reason is because most small businesses are not financeable. So if you think about it, how many times have you guys gone to a dry cleaners, or maybe you've gone and talked to your landscaper and you slip them a Venmo, or you give them some cash, or they've got the pad in front of you. Mm-hmm. Well, what does that mean every single time? It means the money's not tracked. So a bank will not back that business. They're not getting internet checks where you can API check every single dollar spent. And so because of that, they don't have people sitting around that can say, okay, I can pay a couple $100,000 for this dry cleaners out of pocket. And the bank says, I'm not funding that. So what do we have to do instead? We got to go back to what we used to do, which is, back in the day when we had small businesses, if you were a blacksmith or, if you had a construction company, what did you do when you were done, when you wanted to retire, or in that day, pass it on to the next generation? You brought on an apprentice if it wasn't your family member. That apprentice eventually took over the business. We got rid of that because we inserted corporations and we inserted institutions, and we ended up having a corporate structure that we could buy and sell. But that's actually pretty new. So I think we have to go back to the way that we used to run some of these businesses.
And how do you find them? Like, how do you know it's a profitable business and what's actually good to run?
Yeah.
Because it seems like at that point, I've seen with a lot of franchisees that you just like buy yourself a job and it's not that good.
I think the most important part, we call it the perfect fit business. So the biggest misnomer in buying businesses is that there's a good or a bad business. There's really not. It's like, what's good or bad for you? So if I am brand new out of college and I don't have any money, but I want to make like $30K a year and I want to work for myself and I want to learn how to buy and run a business, I might want to buy a laundromat that only makes me $30K a year that I can use financing from somebody else because I'm going to learn how to do it live. Is that a bad business, or is that a right business for somebody? Simultaneously, the ones that we always see on Twitter or somewhere out publicly is like, I want a $10 million a year business that makes $3 million EBITDA, and I want the seller to pay me to buy that business. That's going to be hard. You're going to have a lot of competition. But, the average salary in the US is like $67,000 a year. I think on the internet, we get a little disconnected from like, most people want to live the unicorn type of life, which is like, I want to go to my kids' practice. I want to be able to make enough money where I get to do my 2-week vacation. I get to own my house. I get to have my own employees. And I don't have to work for somebody else. And so I think we have to like normalize what is good too. And then if you want to buy a business and you want to do it in 3 steps, here's how I would do it. 1, there's on-market deals. We bought a company called BizScout. So you can go to like bizscout.com. You can search for small businesses to buy, just like you could Zillow, right? We're real estate 20 years behind in buying businesses. Second way is off-market deals. So you go around to your local neighborhood and you get to know some of the owners. And every time you walk into a store, you say like, this is a great place. You run this place? Amazing. Tell me about that. Have you ever thought about transitioning this business? Who's going to buy it? Your kid? What's going to happen? And the third way to buy businesses is the people that are already in your sphere. We call this the center of influence strategy. So that's like my dad's buddy is older and talking about retiring. And I ran into him the other day and I've always really liked him and he's always kind of seen me like a son. I want to go work for him a little bit. And then maybe I could talk him into eventually selling the small business to me. So those are 3 ways I would buy a business without having to go be really sophisticated.
But you know what? While we're on this topic, it really got me thinking about what the future has in store for businesses. Because if you ask 9 different experts, you're going to get 10 different answers. From a bull market, a bear market, stocks are going up, stocks are going down. It'd be really helpful to have a crystal ball at this point.
But until that happens, over 40,000 businesses have already future-proofed their business with NetSuite by Oracle, the #1 cloud ERP bringing accounting, financial management, inventory, and HR into one fluid platform. And plus, with just one unified business management suite, you have just one source of truth, giving you all of the visibility and control you need to make quick decisions.
With real-time insights and forecasting, you're peering into the future with actionable data. Not to mention, when you're able to close the book in days and not weeks, you're spending less time looking backwards and more time on what's next. So whether your company is earning millions or even hundreds of millions, NetSuite helps you respond to immediate challenges and seize your biggest opportunities.
And speaking of opportunity, you can download the CFO's Guide to AI and Machine Learning today for free at netsuite.com/iced. Once again, the guide is completely free, netsuite.com/iced, netsuite.com/iced with the link down below in the description.
Thank you, NetSuite, for sponsoring today's podcast. And now let's get back to the episode.